learn best by watching and learn even more by doing. Something I've been wanting to try for a while is the whole process from fleece to yarn with our English Leicester ewes. This is my first ever attempt at this, and a bit of a disclaimer, I'm left-handed, so everything I do looks awkward and backwards. I had brought the girls in a few weeks earlier and cleaned up their bellies and crutch. But following advice, I waited 12 months between shearing, and when it came down to it, 12 months was a little bit too long for these girls. Their fleece was quite overgrown, was matted and starting to felt, which made getting long blows in with the clippers really challenging. It wasn't super efficient, but we got there in the end. My next step was washing the fleece to remove the lanolin. We have a tap straight from our hot water service, which is governed at 50 degrees. So I used hot water and dishwashing detergent, which is what I had on hand. Whilst this did the job, in hindsight, next time I will use wool wash. These were left to soak for about 20 minutes, and that's the colour of the water. After washing, I set up a drying rack, and over a series of very hot days, the fleece dried out and are looking considerably cleaner. My next step was to card the wool. This process removes knots, aligns the fibres, and also takes out any shorter cuts from shearing. As this was my first attempt, I didn't want to over-capitalise, so I purchased the hand carders. In hindsight, next time a drum carder would be really handy, as this was a very time-consuming process. The carded wool is then rolled off the carder into roll lags, ready for spinning. This process was repeated over and over using the best of my fleece until I had what I thought was enough. Learning to spin was a whole task on its own. I watched countless videos on YouTube and turned many of my lovely fluffy roll lags into tangled messes. On numerous occasions, I just had to walk away. But through persistence, I think I finally acquired the feel. Now I actually really enjoy spinning. My next step was to take 2 full bobbins of my spun yarn and ply them together. The singles were spun in a clockwise direction, and then those singles applied in an anti-clockwise direction, so it locks together just like rope. I chose not to dye the fleece because I really liked the pearly sheen the raw fleece has. My plied yarn was then wound onto the niddy noddy to make a skein. Each of the 4 sections are tied off loosely just to keep it all together. Then it's wound into a skein and I finally have a product that looks like hand spun wool. This process was repeated until all of my plied yarn was wound into skeins. The next step involved washing the wool in order to set the twist. One of the best things about this project was my ability to be able to put it down, go and do something else for a period of time, and then be able to come back to it, whether that's a week or a month later. Setting the twist involved untwisting all of my skeins, popping them back into hot water, and letting them soak for a bit for another wash. These were left to soak for about 20 minutes. As you can see from the colour of the water, there was still lanolin coming out of that yarn, so my first wash could have been more thorough. My yarn was then squeezed out, straightened, and hung to dry. Finally, I'm ready to knit. Again, I'll remind you, I'm left-handed, so excuse the technique. Then to finish with a bit of sewing. And I finally have a product. My fleece to yarn project is finally done. But my one beanie only used just over one of my skeins, so I've got a bit of knitting to do.